I never thought I'd be the type of person to end up in this position. For years, I was the wife who kept everything together. House, meals, birthdays, school events. My husband used to be attentive, used to notice me. We had passion once, I know we did. But somewhere around year 10 it stopped. The conversations thinned out. The touches disappeared. I became part of the furniture. Reliable, invisible, functional. It's been 10 years since he last really looked at me. I mean really looked. Not in passing, not because I asked a question. Just look. Sometimes I catch him glancing at me when I'm folding laundry. But it's the same look you give a ceiling fan. There, running fine. I tried to fix it. Therapy, books, subtle hints. I tried dressing up again, lighting candles, planning a weekend away. He said he was tired. Always tired. Too much work. Too much stress. There was always something more important than me. First, I thought it was normal. Marriages settle. Maybe this was just the plateau. But years went by, and I began to shrink inside myself. I started avoiding mirrors because I didn't recognize the woman in them. Not because of wrinkles or weight, but because her eyes were hollow. My smile was a performance, and even that got exhausting. The only time I felt needed was when my son called for help from college. And even he started calling less. Last month, he brought his best friend home for spring break. Said he didn't want him alone in the dorms. I wasn't expecting anything to shift. I was just happy to have my son around. Then I met Ryan. Tall, warm smile, respectful, the kind of polite that doesn't feel forced. He called me ma'am at first, which made me laugh. Please, just my name is fine, I told him. Over the next few days, something strange happened. He started asking me questions. Not in a casual passing way, but really asking. About my art, which I hadn't mentioned in years. About a book he saw on the kitchen counter. About a band I used to love. He listened. He remembered things I said. And then I noticed the way he looked at me. Really looked. Not like a mother figure, not like I was off limits. There was curiosity, interest. It was nothing inappropriate. Nothing had happened. But I felt something stir in me, something I thought was long gone. I wore a different shirt the next day. I put on perfume for the first time in years. I told myself it was silly. I was just happy to feel seen. That night, I stayed up thinking about how sad that was. How shocking it felt to be noticed. How quickly that feeling had become addictive. I wasn't planning anything. I wasn't crossing a line. But something inside me had already shifted. And deep down, I knew I wasn't going to forget the way his eyes lingered on me longer than they should have. The shift was subtle at first. I'd walk into the room, and Ryan would smile in this quiet, warm way that didn't feel like politeness. It felt personal. He always found some reason to linger when I was around. My son would head out to see friends or take a call in the other room, and suddenly Ryan would be in the kitchen, helping me rinse vegetables, asking me if I'd ever traveled, what I used to do before I had my son. I laughed more that week than I had in years. Not big belly laughs. Just small, real ones. The kind that creep up on you. He had this easy charm, but it wasn't performative. He looked at me like I mattered. He remembered details. How I liked my coffee, the almond cookies I mentioned offhand once, the fact that I painted in college. He even asked if I still did. I told him I didn't have time anymore. He looked at me for a second, then said, "That's a shame. I bet you were good." That night I stayed up thinking about that sentence. I bet you were good. It wasn't even about painting. It was how he said it. Like I was someone capable. Someone interesting. Not someone whose life was on pause while her husband worked late and her son slowly outgrew needing her. One afternoon I walked into the living room and found Ryan on the floor, fixing something with a cable box. He looked up when I passed and said, "You know, you always smell amazing." I blinked, unsure if I heard him right. He didn't laugh or make it a joke. Just said it like it was a fact. I felt my skin warm. I mumbled a thank you and left the room before I said something dumb. But I didn't stop smiling for hours. I told myself to knock it off. I was acting like a teenager with a crush. This was my son's friend. He was 23. I was married. This was insane. But the truth was, I hadn't felt that alive in a decade. I hadn't felt like a woman. Just a placeholder. Role. A body that cooked and cleaned and held up a home while dying a little more each day inside it. One evening, my son stepped out to pick up takeout. It was just me and Ryan in the kitchen. I was washing dishes. He leaned on the counter, eyes on me in a way that made me forget how to breathe. He asked what I was thinking about. I paused, trying to find a safe answer. I said, "Nothing important." He didn't move. "Can I ask you something?" he said. "Do you ever feel like no one sees you?" My hands froze in the sink. I couldn't answer. I didn't have to. The silence was thick with everything unspoken. When I looked up, our eyes locked for a second too long. I looked away first, heart pounding. I knew, in that moment, I was already in too deep. The rain came down hard that night, tapping against the windows like a warning. My son had gone to stay with a friend across town. Plans changed last minute, and my husband was out of state for a conference. It was just me and Ryan. I made dinner, nothing special, just pasta and wine. We sat across from each other at the kitchen island, the air thick with something neither of us wanted to name. We talked about nothing, movies, music, the weather. But underneath every word something burned. Every time he laughed, every time our eyes met, I felt it pulling me closer to a line I swore I'd never cross. I tried to keep it light, but there was a moment where our hands brushed as I passed him the bottle of wine. I didn't pull away. Neither did he. After dinner, we moved to the couch to watch something, but the TV was just noise. The distance between us narrowed. My pulse was loud in my ears. I could feel his gaze, feel him hesitating the way I was. Every second that passed felt stolen, too long, too dangerous. Then he said it, quietly, without looking at me. "I know this is wrong, but I can't stop thinking about you." I didn't respond. Couldn't. My throat was dry, my hands numb. I turned to face him, and there it was, everything in his eyes. Desire, yes, but more than that. Respect. Longing. A kind of awe I hadn't seen in years. I whispered, "We shouldn't." He didn't argue. He just nodded. "I know." But I didn't move. Neither did he. When he kissed me, it was soft, almost unsure. His hand touched my face like he was asking permission with every movement. Could have pulled away. I should have. But I didn't. I leaned into it. I let myself be kissed. Held. Wanted. Clothes came off slowly, like we were afraid of waking from a dream. We moved together like two people who had both been starving, reaching for something more than just physical relief. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't lustful. It was intimate, desperate, and heartbreakingly tender. He touched me like I was precious, like I was still beautiful, like he couldn't believe I was real. After, we lay in silence, the rain still pattering softly outside. My heart ached, not from guilt, not yet, but from something deeper. From realizing how long I had gone without being touched like that. Without being seen. He spoke first. "I don't know what this means. I just know I meant every second of it." I nodded, eyes fixed on the ceiling. "Me too." But inside, a storm was building. I knew what we'd done. I knew what it meant. And yet, I didn't want to take it back. Not yet. The next morning, the house felt colder, quieter. Ryan was already up, dressed, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee when I walked in. He looked at me like he wanted to say something but didn't. I poured myself a cup without speaking. The weight of what we'd done hovered in the air, thick and heavy. He left that afternoon. Said he had to get back early, that something had come up with work. I nodded, pretending to believe it. We didn't say goodbye the way people usually do. No hug. No eye contact that lingered. Just a small nod. A flicker of something in his expression that looked like regret. Or maybe restraint. Then he was gone. My son came back later that evening, laughing about some joke I didn't hear. I smiled and played along, cooked dinner, asked about his day. My voice didn't shake. My hands didn't tremble. I moved through the motions like nothing had changed. But something had. Everything had. That night, I climbed into bed next to my husband, who didn't even glance up from his phone. He mumbled good night, rolled away from me, and that was it. I stared at the ceiling in silence, my body still remembering hands that touched me with intention. A kiss that wasn't habitual. Eyes that looked at me like I was more than just a fixture in the background. The guilt didn't hit all at once. Came in waves. Quiet at first. Just a pang of shame when I caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. Then deeper, sharper. The way I'd crossed a line I could never uncross. But there was also something else, tangled in the guilt. Something I didn't expect. Relief. I had been suffocating in my own life for years and didn't even know it. I thought I was doing the right thing, being loyal, committed, patient. I told myself that marriages go through seasons, that someday maybe it would come back. But seasons don't last a decade. And waiting had become a form of dying slowly. Ryan didn't fix anything. He didn't make it right. But for a moment, he reminded me I was still a woman. Still capable of feeling something more than numb. He didn't just make me feel wanted, he made me feel seen. And that scared me more than the guilt. I don't know if I'll ever tell anyone. I doubt I will. The cost is too high. The risk is too great. But I also know that something inside me woke up that night and hasn't gone back to sleep. I still go about my days. I still smile when I'm supposed to. I still lie next to my husband and pretend I'm fine. But every now and then when it's quiet, I think about that rain-soaked night. The weight of his hands. The softness of his voice. And I remind myself that I was alive once. Even if just for one night.